Helima, great to hear from you. I wish it was under different circumstances, but listen, there's so much going on right now. What is really the main thing that's going to move the price of crude?
I mean, right now, obviously, the big story is U.S. China tensions. And, China had been the place we were looking for the sort of nascent recovery in terms of economic activity. So any signs that we could be getting, renewed trade wars with China, more tensions in the U.S. China relationship, that's going to be very negative for crude. On the supply side, we are getting reports, almost every day of companies, taking down their production numbers. ExxonMobil, Chevron last week announcing they would be cutting by about 400,000 barrels. The Saudis, the Russians, their production cut went into effect on May 1. So we are seeing a supply side, the reductions coming. But again, the big fear is demand. And this China-U.S. story is only going to accelerate concerns about demand.
Is there any indication that demand anywhere in the United States has picked up at all, Helima?
Well, we have this real-time traffic data that we use at RBC, and we're starting to see a little bit of recovery in places like Atlanta, but it's incremental demand recovery, like 230,000 barrels of gasoline demand we were seeing last week. Again, incremental numbers. We're going to be watching what happens as states reopen, but again, we have a long way to go to dig out of this hole.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some of the traffic data, I've been looking at some of these indexes from around the world and here trying to gauge where we might be. And it's not pretty, Helima. I mean, China's data looks, and this is coming from TomTom and others, is a slow recovery, particularly on the weekends. We're a long way off.
We are absolutely a long way off. And again, I think that's why the story about U.S. China tensions, that will only fuel concern because, again, what has been the engine of growth for the oil market has been China. And so, again, any sense that China's recovery could be slower, I think that's going to just only add to fears that we're not going to get a near-term recovery.
Yeah, in fact, the Hong Kong economic data is showing a contraction of about 9%, the largest in history, or at least in many decades for that. That's not a good indicator. Helima, do you believe that the Russians, the Saudis, and the rest of OPEC Plus, they had that 3-day or 4-day epic meeting a couple of weeks ago, that they are finally on board, and these cuts, as the Saudi energy minister told me, will be deeper than the market is pricing in right now?
I mean, I think the Saudis are very incentivized to basically do more than expected. I mean, they also want to maintain the U.S. relationship. President Trump was very clear to the Saudis, to the Russians, the Mexicans at the end, that he wanted this deal done. I think economics is also going to force shut-ins across OPEC. I mean, there are countries like Nigeria that are announcing that they're going to make deeper cuts simply because of the economics of this. The Russians have been the perennial laggards in OPEC, but they have their own issues in terms of where do you store this crude. So I think OPEC is going to be particularly compliant because of design and because of sheer economics forcing these reductions.